Welcome to part 5 of this tour of the posters in the Grateful Dead concert poster exhibition running at the Narrow Center through April 1st, 2023. Now, people ask, what about the Fillmore East? The Fillmore East opened in New York on March 8, 1968, and for the first few months, Bill Graham paid for posters to advertise the events just like back in San Francisco. But by June, he realized that the Fillmore East, which held about 2,500 people, was feeding a very large and hungry market. Graham realized that whomever he presented was selling out, and so why commission expensive posters when small, inexpensive handbills like these would do? And so there were only 9 posters produced for what Bill Graham liked to call the Church of Rock and Roll. The Boston Tea Party was the Fillmore of Boston. In fact, by late 1967, many large cities had their own large psychedelic ballrooms, including the Grandy in Detroit, the Vulcan Gas Company in Austin, Texas, the Afterthought and the Kitsilano Theater in Vancouver, the Electric Theater in Chicago, and the Electric Factory in Philadelphia. In Boston, 1967, Boston Tea Party manager Steve Nelson and principal artist Bob Driscoll decided that they couldn't possibly compete with the psychedelic poster artists out in San Francisco, and so they deliberately chose a minimalist style, often black and white, for their posters. This haunting image and poster by Bob Driscoll was for the Grateful Dead's last New Year's show not played in the San Francisco Bay Area. That was 1969 going into 1970. Many hours of research have revealed that the woman here is Kathy Spencer, who was an art student at the Museum of Fine Arts and a friend of the artist at the time. This poster is from 3 months earlier, October 1969, and is by Eric Engstrom. The Boston Tea Party posters are generally super rare due to low press runs, never exceeding 1,000. An interesting note is that one of the ways Boston Tea Party posters were distributed was by having students and volunteers hand them out to people in cars in Harvard Square. This very large and outrageous Day-Glow poster was printed in very low quantity by Middle Earth Productions in Fort Worth, Texas, for shows there in February 1970. The Mercury figure holds a banner that's proclaiming "War over, peace at last." This was a tour blank poster for the Dead's fall 1971 tour. After the poster was printed in color in quantities large enough for distribution in every city, the printer then reprinted a custom set of posters in black ink for each individual venue, listing the ticket prices and where to buy them. The one in this exhibition advertises the show at the Easttown Theater in Detroit. The double album, called The Grateful Dead, was released during this tour. The band wanted to call it Skullfuck, and you can see that the artwork for the cover was reused in this poster by Mouse and Kelly. The artist for this poster is unknown, and by the 1970s, if there even was a poster produced to advertise a show, it was often just a photograph and the typeface that we see here. Sadly, this would be Pigpen's last show, the Hollywood Bowl, June 17, 1972. The first printing of this poster is nearly impossible to find, and so we have a second printing to share with you for the December 1973 event at Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke. Here's a cool lineup card handbill from the summer of 1973 with shows that John Scher presented in the New Jersey area. You'll note that the Dead played with the band on July 30th. This was just 2 days after the pair had joined with the Allman Brothers for the famous Larger Than Woodstock concert at Watkins Glen. During a brief period in the early 1970s, the Grateful Dead looked to expand their one-of-a-kind sound even further by welcoming a small section of horn players during their fall tour of 1973. While 2 dates are advertised here for these Providence shows, only the one on the 15th took place. Here is a very rare 1974 poster for the Dead in Philadelphia. This was their wall of sound year, and there were only 34 shows, and only 3 of those had posters made for them. Donna is front and center in this poster that was done by Naomi Helene Gross. Now we're ready to bring on part 5.